This is George. He's an investment banker and seven-figure salesperson. And my name is Albertus de Haan, pharmaceutical scientist and founder of Pinnacle Health Systems, where we help entrepreneurs and professionals optimize their health and become the absolute best. Today, George is going to walk us through his health and performance challenges. And we are going to help him remove every biological limit so he can become an absolute weapon. He has the drive, he has the skill, but now it's time to make his health match his ambition. All right, hello everyone. So today we are going to look at the health of George. So George, could you briefly introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do?
Gosh, that picture is quite funny actually, isn't it? I realized after I sent it to you, but so I'm a salesperson. Essentially, I work for a New York boutique investment bank, and I sell our services and then pieces of companies where relevant and brokering credit deals and things. So I'm a very busy guy. I work remotely, so I travel a reasonable amount, not too much. I essentially sell financial services to companies in the US.
Pretty clear. So what is, as of now, your biggest struggle with your health and performance in sales and on a day-to-day basis?
So I struggle with time because I work a lot for our customers, our clients. So I'm always working hard. I work very long hours. Typically, I'll do like 12 plus hours a day, 5 days a week. It's not like crazy hours for investment banking, but it's a lot. And
how are those hours divided?
I pretty much take like in meetings for about 8 hours, 9 hours of the day, and then I'll spend about 3 hours or so doing sort of admin and reading through materials and stuff by myself.
And those meetings itself, are they directly the sales calls, or is it also just getting the information? And
yeah, well, everything is a process to like essentially go to the point of selling the piece of the company or brokering the deal. So a lot of it's information gathering, strategy building, and then executing on like selling the company or selling part of the company. But then also it's like the preamble process of like selling the company on the idea of working with us as well. So it's a bit of a combination.
All right. So you have incredibly long days. So what is then during the day the biggest struggle? Like, what are your
really it's about maintaining focus, not just focus, but also having ideas, having really good ideas throughout the day. Like if I'm really tired, then I won't think of things, I won't notice things. And it's about all the things that you notice and think about and realize that allow you to find really good angles for positioning. That's what I really want to get right. And it's all, it's a case of marginal gains, right? Like I can sit and operate at 70% and I'll do really well. Like, okay, but I really want to be operating at 100%. That's the difference.
Okay.
So there are loads of factors around that, like sleep, of course, winding down. I work late into the evening typically. And my energy is not, it's fairly consistent throughout the day. Like I've improved on it a lot, but I do still have energy slowdowns and things. And that's kind of it. And it's also a lot of like, it's hard to wind down because I'm working a lot into the evening, and then winding down and getting good rest is quite difficult. So that's, I think,
Okay, that's clear. So what are you currently doing and what's your routine like?
There you go. You got my routine. This is pretty much what I do. So I wake up about 10 o'clock. I normally just go get like a quick coffee on the way to the gym. And then I'll just train for about an hour, do about 20 minutes in the sauna, big meal. And then I'll start working, like about 12 hours there, 1:30 to 1:30, pretty much typical. And I'll eat about 8 o'clock in the middle, and normally I just eat something real quick, like high protein, something just in between. Depending on if I've eaten that much, like sometimes I'll still eat later on and things, and then go to bed about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, pretty clear. All right, so what's then the ideal dream outcome for you? Like where do you want to be, let's say 6 months from now?
So I want to be super energized, and I want to have really good, great sharpness so that I'm able to notice things and have great ideas at work, and to stay throughout all the day, whether I'm taking a meeting at midnight or I'm taking it at 3 p.m. So, and the same thing is like, I notice when I get tired, that's when the desire to kind of waste time and procrastinate kicks in. And I want to avoid all of that at all costs, basically. So there's that as well. I want to gain weight. I'm sitting about 88 kilos probably. I've been up to that one before, I'm pretty lean, so I want to get back to
Yeah.
that point. And having
Basically
time,
3 kgs of muscle.
yeah, pretty much exactly. Yeah.
Okay, pretty clear. So what's now then the biggest problem for you to actually doing it yourself, fixing it yourself?
Biggest problem I'm fixing myself. I think really, I'm slowly getting there. I think I'm slowly getting there, but it could do with if there are extra insights I do. I mean, I take a lot of different supplements, and I'm fairly dialed in really on my health in many ways, but ways to wind down and avoid like the stress and improve my nervous system function and things would be very good as well. Yeah, and like I use my Whoop, but I don't really know what a lot of it means. I do like some of it, but yeah.
Okay, so just curious.
I was kind of looking at like what are the things I'm doing that maybe are affecting it.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, like what type of supplements are you actually using right now?
You said you had
Loads
of them.
Hi, lot here. This is my 7-day supplement.
Okay, damn, they're filled.
So, yeah, literally full. I've got in there like the basic stuff like vitamin C, and I've got a methylated B vitamin complex. And then I take a load of hormonal stuff. I take maca. I take maca. I take tonka ali. I take some tropics, like I take alpha GPC, L-citrulline. I take L-carnitine. In the morning, I take L-theanine. First thing in the morning. So in the morning I take L-theanine. I take creatine. First thing.
Okay.
Then I drink coffee, and then I have lunch. And about an hour after lunch, I take these, and it's got like B vitamins, L-theanine, L-citrulline, L-carnitine, like a load of them. Alpha GPC. I'll have to send you a full list. And then before bed, I take magnesium and glycine, and it's magnesium glycinate.
Right.
This is like one of these ones I just bought from the shop, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's pretty clear.
Blue.
So,
This is the
methylene
blue.
blue. All right,
Yeah.
perfect.
All right, let's dive in. I got a pretty clear picture of where you're at. So let's now look at how we can actually optimize this so you can just become focused entirely and actually become jacked. So let's go there.
Boom. All right. Do I also see it? No.
Miro.
Yeah, but I'm not stuck in the different. Oh, here. Aha. Okay. Perfect. Let's see. Present.
Oh yeah,
Alright,
I don't
so-
think about blood work either, by the way. I'm not taking that.
Sorry?
I've never taken blood work and really looked at it.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. All right. So what you're seeing right now is basically the framework I'm utilizing with any client, right? Because you need the fundamentals for any goal you have in terms of health and performance. So the first thing in your case, obviously, is that we're going to look at sleep. Now, I'm lucky that you've already provided me with the Whoop data. So what we'll do first is just look. Can I delete this? Boom, delete. Look at your Whoop data, which actually was quite interesting. So I'll go there now. Share.
So on average, what you want to look at is obviously like a duration, right? So you want to know, okay, are we actually sleeping enough?
Now, even if you sleep 8 hours, that doesn't guarantee that you wake up refreshed. So what is the most important thing is that we are hitting enough REM and deep sleep. So if we're looking at your 1 month average, we see that your REM sleep is 2 hours, 11 minutes, which is actually pretty decent. So optimally, you would want to have at least 2 hours. So this one is good. Your deep sleep, we want to have between 90 minutes and 110 minutes. So that one is on the lower side, right? So how could we then improve your deep sleep?
So I understand it, right? So light sleep, REM sleep, and then SWS deep sleep. So 90 to 110 minutes.
Yeah, that's like optimal. And the deep sleep is the sleep phase, which is often at the beginning of the night. You can actually see it if we go here, and then let me swipe this to the side. Oh. If we go to deep sleep, you see that often stacked at the beginning of the night. And so if you are, let's say, you're stressed or you're not really winding down properly, that is literally the first thing which is going to get affected. So that is one. We need to kind of see, okay, how could we just optimize getting enough deep sleep? And then secondly, what I saw is that your average duration over the month is like 7.5 hours. Now, why is that a problem? So maybe you are aware with sleep cycles, and I put up another picture here, boom. Sleep cycles. So naturally speaking, I'll just get the picture. Naturally speaking, every sleep cycle is 1.5 hours. And if you're on average sleeping 7.5 hours, you wake up in the middle of REM sleep, which creates a groggy feeling and can actually then cause you to have an energy crash. So ideally, if you cannot sleep 8 hours, you either want to literally sleep, let's say 6.5, or go for 8 plus. Because if you wake up in between, you wake up like in that sleep phase and then you become like groggy and kind of
Yeah, it's funny because actually I sometimes would notice when I had the best sleep, I would sleep only about 6.5.
Yeah, and that's to do with like waking up in these sleep phases. So actually, if you want to sleep optimally, you want to sleep longer than 7.5 hours, which means that you have to be in bed for like 8.5. Right? That's the optimal thing. But if you can't, then it's often smart to just basically look at this. Okay, where can I still wake up? Which is then 6.5. Obviously, don't do that like multiple nights in a row. But if you can't, then that's actually a very good strategy to just prevent the grogginess in the morning. So that is one, right? So on your Whoop in general, just the main takeaways here are either increase sleep duration and also focus on the wind down. So what exactly can we then do? Let's go there. Share different screen. So as I understand quite well, you probably just work from 2 to 2, basically, right? Till 1:30, till 1. Yeah. So, and you get like 30 minutes of wind down, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I will work later. I rarely stop sooner than that. Sometimes I work a bit later. Sometimes I don't. Normally, I'll have a wind down, but really I kind of just stop working and then I'll do a bit of journaling and I'll drink a glass of water, maybe have a shower, and then go to sleep.
Yeah. So in your case, okay, normally I would say I'll do this an hour-long night round routine, but in your case, it's not really that logical because of the nature of your job. So what do you want to do? We want to see, okay, what is like the thing which provides us with the biggest ROI in helping us calm down? And in your case, that would not be journaling, or that stuff would actually be, are you familiar with like Shakti mats? Like this, like there's some yoga mats which you can actually use. And the combination of like the nails on that mat and like breath work is like one of the best things you can do to just very quickly wind down. Because in your case, we want to go from like a sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic, which is that you're actually calmed down. And the quickest way to do that is not by showering or journaling, but actually just breath work and like actually relaxing. So that could be a very good investment, which is like very easy to take with you on the road, and also it takes only like 10 minutes at night. Now, obviously, the general sleep hygiene stuff still applies, so don't go doom scrolling or watch like some crazy war documentary. So the general stuff still applies, like try to avoid blue light and all that jizz, but that could already work immensely. Now, for the sleep supplementation, so you have already used magnesium and glycine, which is a good basis, but if you actually want to optimize it in your case, and we want to look at, okay, how could we improve the deep sleep phase as quickly as possible, we want to both use GABA and epigenin. And these work synergetically. So epigenin helps with the receptors which
use GABA. GABA then also helps you calm down, get into that parasympathetic state, and also it supports deep sleep. So these two actually help each other. And if you combine it with L-theanine, which you use in the morning, you'll be knocked out. So that combination would be very, very good. Now, one thing.
Glycine, GABA, apigenin in the evening, and the L-theanine in the morning.
Yeah, so the L-theanine also in the evening. So L-theanine is kind of, it calms you down. So one thing I wanted to touch upon still is, I know you're traveling a lot and probably with a lot of different time zones. So one thing you obviously should do is always kind of keep your circadian rhythm slightly in check. So the quickest way to just do that is by also having vitamin D supplements and melatonin. Why? Because with those two supplements, you can kind of hack your circadian rhythm. So you don't get the jet lag and you're not kind of groggy for like an entire week, because you basically want to perform like straight away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting. So when you're traveling, you wake up, take vitamin D, and then when you want to go to sleep, take melatonin, and then just kind of reset like that. Yeah.
Exactly, because normally in the morning,
melatonin that way, but not vitamin D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, the vitamin D just helps your body get to think, okay, it's morning right now, right? Which is kind of disturbed if you're traveling a lot often.
Yeah, very cool.
All right. So that's the side of the sleep. Is that all clear? If any questions?
Yeah, that's good actually. I'll do the Shakti
right.
Those supplements are great.
Perfect. All right. So then the next one is obviously nutrition. Now, in your case, one of the big outlets obviously is that we want to gain 3 kgs of muscle. Also want to stay lean, right? So you kind of want to keep the same amount of fat percentage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one important thing here, and probably you're familiar with this term, is like total daily energy expenditure. And in your case, you just want to add like 200 calories on top of that and just use that consistently to get that goal. If you just do that, use the normal training optics like progressively overloading, then gradually you will be able to just act back on 3 kgs of muscle, but also stay lean, right? Now, one thing which is very important in your case, and I can already kind of see what's happening here, for performing optimally, your brain and body needs fuel. So what is that fuel? Like what fuel are we actually talking about? So you're already taking, for example, B vitamins or general multivitamins. And those are exactly the type of vitamins we need. But through supplementation, it's often less optimal in terms of bioavailability, which means like how well your body can actually use it. So what you naturally want to do is you want to optimize your diet for having the most amount of micronutrients. So the easiest win for you is adding organ meats. So ideally liver and beef heart. It can be chicken liver, can be lamb liver, cow's liver, but these things are incredibly rich. And the first time when I started eating these fuckers, my libido went sky high because they're just so full. They're good for the skin, good for your hormones, and therefore also good for just becoming a beast. So if you have the opportunity, always choose these foods over actually taking the B vitamin in supplementation. And generally speaking, and actually I have to gatekeep this information, it's very cheap because no one eats it. So that's a good thing. Now, going back to the nutrition, in overall terms, it's quite okay. But in your case, you want to have
like, I typically will sort of intermittent fast. It's not like really intermittent fasting, but I will do at least a prolonged period of time where I don't eat. So from about 9 p.m. until 1 p.m. the next day, pretty much. But then
that's okay.
Honey before I train, just a tiny bit.
Yeah, so obviously in your case, with that physical goal in mind, it's just about we need to get those calories in. So if you are able to get, and I'm going to guess what it is, it's probably around 2,800 calories. If you're able to get those calories in that time period, it's fine, but it's very likely that you will struggle to do so. And therefore you have to then add something in the morning. which can be a pre-workout meal. So let's say you take a big bowl of yogurt with some oats, honey, you'll already have like 700 calories. And then if you have two remaining meals, it's almost very easy to get to the desired calorie goal. But that's something you have to kind of test yourself to see, okay, am I actually able to eat that much in this time window? Because otherwise you just lose muscle and you'll not be able to like gain the weight. So that's something you have to figure out yourself. Now, in terms of having all day energy and focus, one thing nutrition can do is also understanding, okay, how do you stay energized and focused? So your brain actually uses sugar as its primary fuel to just stay active. Now, you can literally see that the glucose in your brain, sugar, is going down the longer you focus. And as with sleep, what we just discussed, your focus and energy has these cycles of 90 minutes to 120 minutes. So ideally, if you have to change every 90 to 120 minutes, you actually want to replenish that sugar because your brain is literally becoming depleted because we are doing very intensive work. So you actually need to replenish that, right? With ideally honey or fruit. I wouldn't suggest like refined carbs because that just spikes it way too much. But honey is like one of the best ones I just used because that just provides quick energy, and then that's it. So that's it for nutritional side of things. Is that clear?
Yeah, makes sense. Cool.
Okay, perfect. Now, then obviously we're going to go to cognitive excellence, and I feel that this one is almost the biggest one for you. So one thing obviously we need to understand is that having focus and energy all comes down to your mitochondria. In simple terms, that's basically the engine of our body. That's producing the energy. So how does this thing work? Very simple. That thing needs oxygen and it needs the nutrients. And the only way to get that is through your blood flow. Now, you can kind of already guess what's happening when you're sitting the entire day. Like you're getting slow, right? And literally your blood flow is going to get slow, and therefore the cells which make the energy are not getting the nutrients. So with the same cycles in the 90 to 120 minutes, you also want to add like movement. And in your case, you can either buy like a Stairmaster, but obviously, of a Stairmaster, like a treadmill, but that's not practical in your case. So literally the simplest thing you can do is just some push-ups, some squats. And the combination itself works because you're then pumping blood from your legs and also the upper body stuff. It takes like 1 minute, and if you combine it with the sugar and the movement, then it's one of the easiest ways to just get the blood flowing, and almost immediately you will then feel that you'll get more energy. That's like one of the big ones. Now, obviously, when we're then talking about the feeling that you're always on and you don't want the desire to scroll, the issue here is that basically it's like the devil's candy. So once you, let's say, start your day with your phone, you're training your brain into getting quick rewards. And unfortunately, there are no drugs here. You can obviously use drugs, but then there are a lot of downsides and there's no free dinner. So actually what you want to do is just to keep your work hygiene as clean as possible. Meaning keep your phone out of the room, out of the workroom, keep all the tabs closed, keep notifications off, so you can literally just focus on one thing. And I would lie to you, like there are no real supplements could actually overcome this issue because it's just your brain who's just looking for quick rewards. And the problem with the end of the day is that your willpower decreases, but that just has to do because it's like a pool. Like you have 100 willpower points and throughout the day it just decreases, and then you're more prone to making the mistakes. That's why most people get fat at night, because their willpower decreases and then they just eat up like an entire bag of chips.
Interesting. Right? Yeah. Makes sense.
And the easiest thing obviously you can do is making it difficult to do the wrong thing, right? So just throw away all the distractions, create some sort of focus routine, and literally just force yourself to work. And eventually over time, you will get used to that and that desire will disappear. But it's a gradual thing because you'll train yourself to actually not get your phone. Or what I used to do is I will hide the phone somewhere in the house and I'll forget. And I'm like, fuck, I need to go search this thing. Do I actually need it? No, okay, I'll just continue to work.
Makes sense. And the other thing I suppose is about doing things that require patience as well. It's quite a good one. So
Yeah.
trains
And-
that
and-
like longer term thinking brain, part of the brain as well, which is good.
Exactly. And then one thing for the always on thing, and I've actually seen this in loads of my clients as well, is that you need calmness to have creativity, right? In your case, creativity, that means that you're able to find these openings in sales conversations. The only way to actually get the calmness is to always create moments in your day where you are mindful. So one thing which has been incredibly powerful in my day for having this peace of mind is actually just doing a quick meditation. So I was aware that you were at the hypnosis. Doing such things throughout the day actually works incredibly well. And then what you want to do is just literally think of nothing. So it's a very simple thing. I would just sit outside and just think literally in my mind, nothing. And then your mind is going to doze off and you just bring it back. And eventually that will just calm your mind, and that desire, at least that always on, will like go down over time. And one thing which is very important to understand as well here is that your baseline of stress, like your chaos baseline, is a little bit higher. So over time, by doing this more often, the baseline will basically go away, and then you'll have more calmness. And you can literally directly feel the effect of doing it versus not doing it. So that's something you could add to your routine, let's say in the morning, or maybe after a couple hours where you really feel like, fuck, my mind is just all over the place.
Awesome.
So
man.
that's it. And then obviously the focus supplements. So you already use Alpha GPC. So two I would personally add is Ginkgo biloba. What does it do? This is actually a supplement which provides nitric oxide, which widens your arteries. And that is perfect because that then allows for better blood flow, right? So the combination of Alpha GPC, Ginkgo biloba, and Alcar provides you with like a very stable, kind of like hyperfocus, which does not come with side effects, right? So obviously in the entrepreneurial space, I've seen many of my clients previously used Adderall or like C-Max or this stuff, which have very big mood side effects, right? So you become very...
I actually do
Weird.
take C-Max sometimes. I started taking it about a couple of weeks ago because I figured, hey, I'll give it a go. What is
Yeah,
it? What's that like?
Sorry?
What's C-Max doing? What is it?
Yeah, so C-Max just helps with, like, it does help with like the mental clarity. But one thing I personally am against is becoming dependent on these peptides because they are very, very strong, right? They work. It's like taking Adderall. Like once you take it, you are just, it's like, yeah, you're opening a can of worms and then you become dependent on it. So ideally what you want to do is first optimize this before actually going into the peptide stuff. So this is like the fundamentals, and once you dial in fundamentals and you still want to go up, then you can look into those compounds, but not if you have not fixed this first. All
But I could start. So what's Alcar? What is that?
Alcar is acetyl carnitine.
Okay.
It's like a version which gets into the brain. So I think you got L-carnitine, right?
Yeah.
So this one is acetyl L-carnitine. So that actually then gets into the brain, and then it helps, and it basically synergetically helps with like the focus, because Alpha GPC provides choline, which is then the fuel for some brain cells, and Ginkgo biloba just helps with improving blood flow. So the combination just works synergetically. All right, then prime training. This one is going to be slightly shorter because I already saw that you're doing it quite okay. So obviously you want to get 91 kg, we want to become jacked. The easiest thing here is just very simple. You want to train strength 2 to 3 times per week. Combine that with 1 or 2 high intensity VO2 max or fight sports. Why the combination? In your case, we want to build muscle, but most importantly, you want to stay sharp and have energy. And the only way to increase that is by improving your battery. And your battery is like your capacity to actually pump stuff around. So you want to train your heart and your lungs, and that you will only train by doing high intensity VO2 max or fight sports. Why the combination? In your case, we want to build muscle, but most importantly, you want to stay sharp and have energy. And the only way to increase that is by improving your battery. And your battery is like your capacity to actually pump stuff around. So you want to train your heart and your lungs, and that you will only train by doing high intensity VO2 max or fight sports. So by implementing this 1 or 2 times per week, you will literally increase your capacity to produce energy throughout the day. And then the combination with the strength sports will just allow you to build muscle, right? And then you have the general stuff like progressive overloading, but I think that you'll understand how that works.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
So
that is basics.
that's like the idea that it's the VO2 max stuff, the HIIT work that gets you a better
Yes.
energy as well. Because
Yeah.
actually sometimes I don't train that much on the VO2 max stuff or on the high intensity intervals. Like I do sometimes. I used to train it a lot, but now I'm kind of concerned that I'm going to do too much strain, and then I'll end up going to work and being really tired.
Yeah, so what I do find out personally is that if I, let's say, do a leg day in the morning, which is really tough, I can't focus because I train quite hard. So I have to kind of pay attention to that. But that is something you want to experiment with. So I can understand that if you're going to, let's say, a Muay Thai training, that you won't be able to focus for like 10 hours because they will fuck you up, literally. So what you can do is, I don't know if you work 7 days a week, but just pick a day where you are able to just do that. And the other days I will then just do like full bodies and strength training, because in general that is fine. And I would just then maybe not train to complete failure, but just keep 1 or 2 reps in reserve. So you're not completely like demolished, and overall you are already jacked, and gaining 3 kgs with a slight increase in your calories and while you train is like a no-brainer. But obviously hitting the calories and keeping the training consistent is then most important.
Totally. Okay,
All
makes
right.
sense. Awesome.
So the basics, this will allow us to build the muscle and get like the engine increased. So obviously one thing we can do in your case, which will provide significant insights, because often the biggest bottleneck in your performance is something you are not aware of. So there's this thing called the Liebig's law of the minimum, which is basically means that if you, let's say, got a plant and the plant just does not want to grow, you're adding water, you're adding fertilizer, you're adding extra ground, the plant won't grow unless you find that one compound which is missing. And you don't know what that compound is unless you test. Obviously, you can guess by taking different supplements and eventually you will hit it, but that can take years, and when we don't have time for that. So the easiest way to uncover, okay, where is our bottleneck, is actually running a full blood panel. So in your case, you would likely want to test, okay, how are my hormones performing? So we're talking, for example, testosterone. How is my thyroid? Is my liver working? And those are actually very important, your liver, because you're taking already a lot of supplements. So you want to see, okay, is that still going well, right? Because if we're doing supplementation, you actually want to see, okay, are we improving stuff? Right, because if you're just supplementing and just hoping for the best,
That's kind of doing it, right?
Exactly. So a full blood panel will actually be very smart. Then secondly, a GI map. So this one is often uncommon, but your gut is basically the gateway to anything in your body, right? And often you hear this saying, you are what you eat, but in actuality, you are what you absorb. And the only way to figure out is that optimized is by doing a GI map, which is going to be shitting in a bottle, but that will allow us to actually see, okay, what's going on there and where can we improve. So that will be massively insightful. And then we want to look at your genetics/neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are the stuff which actually gets you into that deep flow, so like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. So we actually want to see, okay, how does your body utilize these? And obviously the only way to do that is by running these tests. And then secondly, how does your body use these? And for example, how prone you are to caffeine. So one thing I forgot to touch upon is, how many cups of coffee do you drink?
About 2 or 3 a day, at least 2. Normally it's 2.
Yeah. Exactly. So one thing which is interesting, just to give a quick example what genetics can do, is that some people are like hyper responders to caffeine. But there's no way to tell, at least sometimes it is, but it's very difficult to tell if you are, because it will silently then ruin your sleep, because your body is not able to get rid of the caffeine and it will just stay in your body. And by, for example, doing a genetic test, you will figure out, okay, is my body actually able to just get rid of the caffeine, or will it just stay there? And that will allow us then to kind of tweak and optimize further. And then obviously, just if you're into the physical stuff, VO2 max and DEXA is just getting a baseline of your capacity, essentially. So how much muscle and fat do we have, and how much is our engine? So those are some things you could utilize later on after you kind of optimize like the fundamentals to really dial it in further. And is that clear?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. I think the blood panel would be good and the GI map. Well, actually,
Yeah, exactly.
That would be really good to just understand a bit more.
Exactly. That's like one of the most insightful things, and that will just also get away like the guesswork. So obviously with some of these supplements, you're kind of guessing what it does, but by combining the data, you actually know, okay, this is what we need. And then ideally what I do with my clients, we run a second test to also just show, okay, this is what the results that we got. To actually just show them, okay, it actually works, right? Because otherwise I'll just say, okay, take this supplement, and you have actually no clue if it's actually doing something, maybe subjectively, but we actually then show it as well.
Yeah.
All right. And then lastly, these are some extra stuff we can do. Just some basics which can work pretty well is in general for having all the energy and focus, 15 grams of creatine is like the minimum you should take.
15
So you are quite a bigger guy. You have some muscles, which means that the first 10 grams of creatine will just go to your muscles in your case, roughly. And everything above that, you'll need to go to the brain. So you need at least 15 grams because that will then actually also improve your brain ATP, which is the energy. And that would just be a staple in your performance protocols, especially on days where, for example, you are tired, right? If you did not sleep 8 hours, literally what I'm doing personally is I'm taking like 25 grams of creatine, and that just completely removes all the cognitive drag and like the lack of mental bandwidth on those days where I did not sleep properly. So that should be a staple. Obviously, we got then rhodiola rosea and L-tyrosine. So rhodiola rosea is a very good one. It's like an adaptogen which just helps with stress resilience and energy. And L-tyrosine is one who helps with like dopamine production. So that can kind of create that locked in feeling, which is more natural.
Yeah, I take L-tyrosine actually.
Perfect. And then lastly, which in your case specifically is targeted for getting very jacked. Often boron is one of the minerals which most people are deficient in.
Yeah, super integrated, right?
Exactly. So it should be normally before we got the modern agriculture, it was already present in the soil. But because of literally factory farming, it just disappeared. And now most people just don't get it through their diet. So actually supplementing with this will help massively. And then also Perfect. And then also Shilajit, and I'll give the boring scientific explanation. But before we got factory farming, we got bacteria in the soil. But that's all killed. But that bacteria that used to produce fulvic acid. And fulvic acid used to help our body with like channeling, let's say, zinc from our stomach to a cell where the cell can use it. But it's not in our ground anymore, and therefore we're not getting it through our diet. So actually using Shilajit, which is incredibly high in fulvic acid, helps with like the utilization of these minerals and can give you, let's say, the last extra 5% of your performance.
Interesting, actually. Yeah, Shilajit is not one that I really took because the resin, I didn't really like taking the resin, you know. I thought.
Yeah, so you can then also look into fulvic acid, like literally the compound itself, instead of the Shilajit. So overall, this is basically the framework which will allow you, in your case, to just have way more energy, hit that physical goal, and just stay focused.
I like it. Very cool. Okay, so
Perfect.
That's awesome, man. I think like there's a lot to dig into there in terms of some of the supplements, as well as like things I hadn't thought about in terms of like the sugar every couple of hours, and organs I'd considered, but I don't really like organs, man, like that. I never really got it. Maybe I can take an organ supplement.
Yeah, that's easy.
Kind of a cheat, right? But I probably should just take it and stop being a pussy, but you know. And then
Exactly.
other things, Yeah, I think the right wind down routine, like doing yoga, is a good idea, and that's definitely a good shout. Some of the supplement recommendations are great,
Yeah.
and really, I think like a lot of the low hanging fruit is actually going to be found in the tests I should take as well. But
Yeah,
that's
so
really
100%.
yeah, awesome.
Because I think in your case, the challenge is mainly just how can you optimize your performance while you are traveling and have this random routine, right?
Yeah, I
That
mean, my
just
routine is kind of like it's fairly dialed. It's just it could be do with more refining, and it is quite a late routine. Sleep is
yeah.
the barrier of like going to sleep early enough and working late into the evening just because of time zones that I'm working on.
Yeah, so I think definitely like the movement that throughout the day, what I talked about, like every 90, 120 minutes, and also the wind down routine is like very important. So in your case, well, just in general, if you're a very high performer, you must also really dial in like the recovery part, which then is like the breath work, right? So really calming the mind. So to get rid of the always on idea and just the wind down routine. And those things only take like 5 to 10 minutes each. So it's very easy to just stack them together. And then, yeah, it's a no-brainer to at least significantly feel better.
Awesome, man. That's super useful. Thank you